I didn't really have a biological, the ordinary parents that you would have in a biological sense. But instead, God blessed me with amazing grandparents. My mother, who was an angel and a light to everyone, suffered from bipolar disorder from very, very young age, and when I was 5, she took her life. My father was never in the picture. He was a drug addict and an alcoholic, and he would beat her, and shortly after my mother took her life, he signed his rights away. But God blessed me with so much support and so much love from 2 amazing people who unfortunately lost a second child when I was 12 years old, my uncle. And just seeing them grow and just seeing the way that they worship and love God has given me so much strength. I received Christ when I was about 9 years old at a Bible camp. And since then, in my middle school and high school and college years, beginning of my college years, I'm still in college, I didn't know exactly what it meant to have a relationship with Christ. Like, I knew I'd been saved and I went to church and I knew I loved the Lord. But there were certain areas in my life that I hadn't fully surrendered to Him. My grandparents gave me a purity ring when I was 16 years old. And that purity ring I wore for so many years, and I've kept its promise, and I'm still keeping its promise, even though it's not on my finger anymore. My second semester of my freshman year of college, I never really gave much thought to guys in my life because I was always, I'm going to make good grades and I've got my music, and I ended up meeting this guy who I knew he wasn't a Christian, and I thought I could change him, and I ended up starting to really have feelings for this guy. And so what ended up first was me trying to change him. He ended up changing me in a lot of ways, and we entered a very sexually manipulative as well as emotionally abusive relationship. The last time I saw him, he got very close to taking my virginity. And I told him no. I couldn't. And so I left that day, and that was the last time I saw him, and shortly after he broke up with me, and that was the reason why. For many months after I fell into this deep depression, I couldn't understand why I felt so much pain and so much loss, and I felt like trash, essentially, for doing what I thought was the right thing. I had given him so much of myself, except for that one part. I couldn't let myself see that what I'd done was actually the best thing for me. And so I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I lost all interest in my classes, my friends, and the devil really spoke to me, and he said, "You are worthless. You have nothing. You are never going to be loved." And I remember sitting on my bed one day and just him speaking to me so loud and saying, "End it now. Just do it. Just end it." And I had thought in my mind, well, my mom did it. Why shouldn't I? And as soon as I said those words, it was like this presence came over me, and God spoke to me and said, "You are my child, and I love you, and I will provide for you, and I have so much more for you than this." And so I equate that day with really the day that I essentially started growing a relationship with Christ. After that, I met Jeremy. And Jeremy had just rededicated his life like I had to Christ, and we were walking together and growing in the Lord. And I fell in love with his family, and I fell in love with his faith, and he became my best friend, and I found myself falling just so in love with him. And I couldn't believe like God had brought me through so much, and that he had sent me Jeremy to go through this with me in my life. And the longer we were together, the more I could see this future, and I saw a marriage, and I saw kids. And June 23rd, 2014 is the day that for many months I believed my world had ended. Jeremy went home to be with the Lord that day. And I became so angry with God. Like, you had just brought me through this last year. Why are you bringing me through this? But it's even worse. And so many things, so many times I had prayed to God in our relationship, and he had showed me that this was the guy I was supposed to be with, and I couldn't understand why he had took him away from me. And I began to see myself falling into a more deeper and harder depression than what I had faced just the year before. Even though I wasn't as physically drawn down, I was leading worship at my school's Bible study. I was going to church. I was spending time with my family, with his family. I would go home every night, and I felt so alone. And many nights, I just felt captive by something that was consuming me, and I had no idea what it was. And just recently, in the past month, God has begun to release all these burdens, and he's been showing me that the real thing that had consumed me the year before, and with losing Jeremy, was fear. And I had forgotten that perfect love cast out all fear. I had so many fears just about never loving again, never just losing, forgetting Jeremy, and never having the life we talked about, and never being able to stop having this pain. And God has just shown me that, yes, I don't know my future, and I don't know what's going to happen next, but I know who holds my future. He's given me 4 amazing, beautiful brothers, and a whole new set of parents, and just beautiful, beautiful friendships that have come out of all of this, and so much love that he has filled my heart and filled my spirit with. There's one verse that's really helped me through all of this. It's 2 Corinthians 12, 9 through 10. And he said to me, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in your weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore, I will take pleasure in my infirmities, and reproaches, and necessities, and persecution, and distress for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong." There's a time for everything, and I do believe that there's a time for grieving, and I'm still very much in that time for grieving. But I don't have to be afraid, and I can boast in my grief, because in my grief, he has made me strong. And this is my story.